Hello, everybody, and welcome to 120 Months. My name is David Parsons. I'm here, as always, with my good friend John Lombardo.
Hi, David.
Good to see you, John.
Good to see you too. Cool T-shirt, brother.
Thank you. Not a 90s album, but I think, especially with maybe the first band we talk about today, maybe a little bit of an influence or at least a connection in terms of making music that nobody wants to listen to.
Did you ever listen to Captain Beefheart when you were a kid?
Not as a kid, no, but I've listened to it as an adult. I feel like it's more like adult listening, but I don't know. Have you listened to this album?
Yeah, sure. Trout Mask Replica, yeah, sure. And I'll tell you something. We have a song on our album that we released on Meltdown Records, our last indie label release. It's called More Like Morphine, my band Pinching Judy.
Yeah.
The last song, we had a hidden song on the album. If you listen to it all the way through,
I think I remember this.
it was called Where's Captain Beefheart?
Yeah, I had that. I had your album. I found it, and there was a whole pile of them in the dumpster. And I felt like maybe I could use them as coasters or some sort of art project with them. But then I ended up listening, and I realized,
I went to a record store, and funny thing, they actually paid me to take the record.
Please.
Damnedest thing.
What year did that come out, by the way?
That record was 1994.
94.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that eventually.
Wow.
God, we got to actually get through these fucking months and months of material. We are in, July of 92. So July of 92 is an interesting month because I started creating the list and realized there's, like has happened with other months, more albums than we could possibly talk about in a single hour. So we're splitting this one up into two pieces. This is part one. We're going to start with these four albums. The first one is an album called Dirty by Sonic Youth. It is their seventh full-length studio album, a double album. It's epic. It took me a long time to get through. It's it's an hour long, which is, I guess, not that long.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah. But it seemed like 2 hours to me.
We're gonna have an interesting conversation about this record.
Well, I'm joking about it, in part because I think that Sonic Youth are easily joked about, but I like this album a lot. This is one of my favorites of theirs.
So that's what. So if you look up cool hipster alt snobbery in the 80s and 90s in music, it was Sonic Youth. Like, their fans are so protective of them as this. They hover over this whole world of alternative music, as you said, they got a little bit of popularity off this record in terms of commercial success, so good for them. But they were always the band that the super cool bands would cite Sonic Youth as an influence, right?
Right.
And their influences, by the way, on this record are very interesting. But in 1992, I think they're occupying a perfect space because they got, like I said, they got enough of a piece of the action of the commercialism around underground music to good for them. They had some minor hits and they made some money and it kept the band. That's great. I'm always sad for the guys like Westerberg and the Pixies who just missed this big explosion and didn't get to enjoy the fruits of what they had helped create. But Sonic Youth does a little bit, and yet they didn't compromise anything. I don't think they compromised anything on this record. It's produced by Butch Vig. And Andy Wallace is the engineer, so it's the same duo that did Nevermind, but they swear up and down that wasn't an influencing factor for them. They, Vig heard their demos and said, "Here's what I want to do," and they liked his ideas, so they brought him on.
Yeah. I mean, it feels a little bit grungier and harder than their other stuff. I mean, all of their stuff has a certain level of guitar experimentation, a lot of screeching distortion, and I think we talked about before when we talked about Goo, how much we both appreciate Thurston Moore's weird guitar thing.
He's got an interesting take on it, man. Whether you like it or not, you can't deny he's doing something unique, and I respect that. And whether you love or hate this album, I think Butch Vig has to get some credit for taking. I mean, he said that what they had on tape were a bunch of space jams, big long instrumental, mostly instrumental space jams, and he was very clear about I want to give this some structure. And I think Butch Vig proved himself during this time. I mean, Pumpkins, Nirvana, Sonic Youth. He proved himself somebody who was able to, as we've talked about the best producers, he was able to capture something about the band that gave it an accessibility to the masses without them losing anything, without them having to change into something else. I mean, I do think that Nevermind is a tremendous change for Nirvana sonically, but there, it's already there. You can hear that their pop sensibilities, right?
Yeah. I feel like you're right. Sonic Youth for me is partly an attitude. They have a kind of sarcastic remove in their lyrics.
They're
and
too
in their,
cool for school. Yeah.
And like, I hate the president. It's a war pig fuck. You know, like even when they're being political, it's like sort of like it's that thing that you described before, which is that like I hate this, but I don't really care. You know? Like like the environment's all fucking destroyed anyway. Who fucking cares?
Yeah. That's the nihilism, the fatalism of the era, and Kim Gordon's a great avatar of
She's
that.
so
man.
good.
She's fantastic, and
they both are, honestly. Like that song "Teenage Fascism," which is the one I think I just quoted, is Thurston Moore talking about. I mean, stuff that you could talk about
today,
now, right? Is
totally.
like racist, white supremacists, like that, the connection to the conservative movement, etc. But he's doing it in a way that's just like, he's war pig fuck. Like it's just sort of like, how he feels, but he's not precious about it.
That's a very 70s punk thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a very 70s punk thing. Like, you all suck. It's all fucked up. I don't care. You know, in the 80s, American punk bands cared. They were some of them at least were trying to change things.
The world. Yeah.
Sonic Youth doesn't give a fuck. They're not trying to change, but they are. But they might disagree with us. I mean, like if you look at Swimsuit Issue, they went out of their way to write a song. They're talking about a guy that worked at their label who got in trouble for sexual harassment but didn't get fired.
Well, there's different ways to change the world, right?
Yeah.
And like they're doing it with I think that we've said before, being very direct in art doesn't necessarily work all the time.
Yeah, they're not on the nose.
Yeah, and I would say that listening to a Sonic Youth record as a young person in the 90s, it would key me in to like these guys are cool and they care about this shit and they're sneering at misogyny and they're sneering at all the things that I hate too.
Yeah, environmental devastation. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
it's not We Are the World and
no.
that stuff. I mean, who wants to listen to that if you're a cool fucking teenager? You know what I mean?
So, and I think that Daydream Nation is considered their magnum opus, their masterpiece, and I think that a lot of their fans may not love Dirty as much as Goo and but I think it's their best record.
Why?
Because I think that it's a blink and miss it, you'll miss it thing. But there's the songwriting ideas here. I like that Sonic Youth with this record. Like there's a song on there called 100%.
Yes, I just watched the video for it.
This shows that they can do the 3-minute pop rock tune as good as anybody. And I love that. They just don't want to, but sometimes they do, obviously. And I imagine this. I don't know if this is true. I imagine they said, well, all these bands are starting to have this success. Let's see if we can take what we do and structure it like a song and see if and that they did it. Yeah. I think that the songs that like Sugar Cane and the songs, is Sugar Cane on this record?
Yes.
Yeah. The songs on this record that got a lot of radio play. I think the other one was what's the other one that got? Was it not Drunken Butterfly? It's
100% was a single. Drunken Butterfly was a single, and Teenage Fascism was too.
I think that they got enough attention that they proved they could do it without. But like I said, I don't think they compromised anything of what they were of what they really are. They mixed perfectly on this record the Sonic Youth thing, the experimentation and the innovation, with the pop of the moment, and it's. I don't know if the fans would agree with me, but I love what ended up happening with this record.
Yeah, I agree. And I need to correct myself. It's not called Teenage Fascism. It's called Youth Against Fascism. But either way, if you watch...
Youth Against Fascism is very different from Teenage Fascism.
It really is. But I just watched the video for 100%, which is, you can watch on YouTube. It's and it's like 2 minutes of just 90s fashion and 90s, like it's kind of a skateboarding video a little bit. It's got a lot of skate shit in it.
Yeah.
And it's a house party, and Thurston Moore and the rest of the band are there, like they're like the house band playing at like a party, you know. It's just so of its time. and yet I still think this stuff sounds so cool. Like it doesn't feel dated to me at all.
I agree, and
The attitudes, the politics, all of it,
and it's
and
like
the aesthetic. I mean, it's a fucking rocking album.
Well, like you said, youth against fascism, like you said, like a lot of the rap music we've listened to, it's still totally relevant. They're talking about the Klan and Clarence Thomas.
Yeah.
And, we still have that motherfucker on the Supreme Court. And we just had a fucking Klan rally in Washington, D.C. for our 250th birthday of the country, So
Right.
But by the way, did you know Ian MacKaye from Minor Threat and Fugazi played guitar on that record, on that song?
I thought you were going to say he played at the Klan rally at the 250th. I was like, wow, that's a hard fall for that guy. Yeah.
Oh, he really did a 180. He plays guitar on that song.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, in a lot of ways, I think Sonic Youth feel like it's weird to say this, but sort of like the grandparents of the whole 90s alt rock explosion. They were there, kind of creating a template for not only what it might sound like and the attitudes, but even their sort of like you said, their refusal to compromise what they were doing and who they were.
Even that decision. So around this time, we're going to talk about this. Like for example, Bad Religion, Whom I Love, have a great album. We're going to talk about it soon. It's called American Jesus. Bad Religion was doing the same thing. They were looking at all this stuff and going. They ended up going to Atlantic Records because they wanted a bigger machine to distribute their music. Because they're like going, are we, are the fucking Stone Temple Pilots a better band than us? Or are we just not getting heard enough? So this record, American Jesus, they have a song and a couple songs on there that have guest artists. The guest artist that Bad Religion has on their record are Jeanette Napolitano from Concrete Blonde, and this is when Joey was a hit. Eddie Vedder's on the record. And Sonic Youth has Ian MacKaye from Fugazi on as a guest.
Right. It's like the reverse.
It's the reverse. It's saying, we're going to show you our ass a little bit by seeing what this thing looks like. We're going to structure these songs, but we're still us, and we're going to bring in some heavy hitters from that world to show that this is where we belong. And whether that's intentional or not, that's totally how I read it as they want it. They are DIY underground heroes, even though they're dipping their toes in the water of accessibility.
That makes sense. I mean, I wonder what you think about this, because I was thinking, I agree with you in the sense of I like the fact that these songs are more like songs with ideas, a kind of coherent, like lyrical thing going on. But it's also, it feels like the drums are really cool on this album. Like they're more present, and they need to be, because these are short, punchy songs.
Yeah.
And they're not about like Thurston Moore just letting the amplifier squeal at you for a few minutes at the end of the song, and this is the kind of like experimentation. I mean, I think they maintain their experimental vibe still, which is kind of amazing. Even in these 3-minute songs, they still feel like they're not like in a formulaic category of trying to make a pop song.
I agree.
But the drums are awesome. I thought the drums stood out on this album.
Is it Steve Shelley?
I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't immediately recall the
I know. I should know the names. Well, it's funny because watching that video, I was watching the drummer. Steve Shelley's the longtime drummer of Sonic Youth. Yeah. And like they look so like, okay, so I know you're not like super into fashion, but like neither is the drummer from Sonic Youth, because like he looks like he's just wearing like Old Navy golf shirt and khakis. He looks like he could be like like an IT guy at like some office park. Well, that was and just short hair. It kind of was a punk thing, I guess.
That was so much part of the aesthetic of this time, though.
Yeah,
was to be the anti-rock star, anti-fashion.
Right.
No image was the image. You know what I mean? That was
like to dress up like Sergeant Pepper's would be really lame.
Oh God, it would be such a I remember. So when "Wannabe" by Spice Girls came out,
yes,
I remember going, "What are these people doing? Or do they think they're stuck in like the '80s?"
Yeah,
now, they were actually helping herald in the new 80s and the 90s, because this movement we're talking about, the alternative music becoming super popular, true alternative music, not alternative music that was manufactured by labels as a new. Now it's a subgenre that every label has it's something that people do.
They even created a Grammy category for best alternative
I'll bet they
album.
Did. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But when it was authentic and it was being discovered and brought into the mainstream, that was part of it. But it's a very short window of time. It's only like 3.5 years, 4 years.
Well, I'm even thinking of like David Byrne as much as he had like the fashion of like the big suit and like all these like art things that he did, he also like, especially in the early David Byrne stuff, like Talking Heads, he's just dressed like a nerd, yeah, like he just has like a collared shirt on and loose khakis and black shoes. He's not. I feel like that there's something kind of punk and fuck you about that. You know, like I'm a rock star, but I'm going to dress like a normal person.
There was a very
it's like the opposite of Ziggy Stardust or something like that.
It's really, I believe it's the opposite of Motley Crue.
Glam, yeah.
That glam thing of all the hairspray and the makeup and the spandex and the day glow and all that stuff from the 80s. I think it's. I mean, go watch the video for. Never mind. For Smells Like Teen Spirit. You can't really tell what they're wearing.
Right.
Which is very unusual for a major act at that time. Like nobody had done that until then. And then it had been done. You see, there are of course videos, but of artists who didn't get dressed up, of course. But most of the acts in the 80s had a look. It was a very important part of who they were. We're back to that now. You know, a lot of the super popular recording artists are products. They're designed in a certain way. It's not just about their music. It's about the way they look.
And ironically, even the no fashion becomes fashion in its own way. There's an amazing film. Speaking of Nirvana and fashion, we'll move on from this. But like, there's an amazing film on YouTube. It's Nirvana at the Paramount Theater in Seattle in 1991. They put it on film, so it's like you can. It almost seems like it was filmed yesterday. It's so clear seeing all these guys' faces, and Cobain is wearing a big, thick sweater.
Yeah.
And Chris Novoselic is just wearing like a torn T-shirt. And Dave Grohl is wearing no shirt and just shorts, just like gym shorts. He's practically naked. And the top comment on YouTube was something like, we'll never know the true temperature of this room. Because they're all wearing such different things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I feel like even Nirvana, I mean, Kurt Cobain's sweater became iconic.
Yeah.
Even though he would have made, I mean, I don't know how calculated it was, but like that sort of look.
It's not, whatever it was, who knows? We don't know if it was calculated. I don't think it was. He probably found it in a thrift store, man.
That's what I'm saying. Thrift store shit. It wasn't anything new.
There's so much stuff that became high fashion that was like, it's just to this day, it is hilarious to me to see what kids will pay for Chuck Taylors from Converse, and Dickies, which are things that we wore in the 80s because that was what was affordable at the thrift store.
Totally,
we didn't afford to buy clothes, you know, and that's where that look actually originated from. This is what we can afford.
Yeah, I mean, this is another topic, honestly, but I think about it a lot because I used to entirely wear thrift store clothes in the 90s. And it was in part a fashion thing because I liked wearing ironic T-shirts that said like Polish princess on it or whatever, and like big old man slacks and shit like that. But it was also before fast fashion. It was really expensive to buy clothes in the 80s and 90s. It was like I didn't have money to buy clothes at all.
Same thing.
And so I wore Dickies, which I bought at like Workman's Warehouse type places, and bought cheap shit because it was just like that's all I could afford. When H&M and Old Navy and all these places like really began to make cheap clothes, you could then buy new stuff.
Yeah,
but it's a different era.
People, something catches on and people rush to make it into a commodity. What am I looking for? To monetize it and like when I was a kid, you would go to the thrift store and you'd buy a Michael Landon T-shirt from Little House on the Prairie because it was funny.
Yeah,
and the reason it was in the thrift store is nobody wanted to wear it.
Right.
And so you're this teenage kid wearing a Michael Landon T-shirt, and then now you know how much someone would pay for a Michael Landon when I was
T-shirt
30.
now?
By the time I was 30, it said Hot Topic for $50, a Michael Landon T-shirt. So it became that's certainly true. But getting back to this record, I do want to talk about Kim Gordon.
Yeah.
As an artist. First of all,
she's at least half the songs, if not more.
And she is very interesting to me. If you asked me to explain, if you said explain Sonic Youth to me in less than 5 minutes, I'd say just listen to the song Drunken Butterfly. I really think that's a great, because it's heavy and yet it's psychedelic and there's all this dissonance in it, and that she's doing that. She has this sort of breathy snarl that's very alluring. It's like half a seductive, half a sneer, you know? And I think a lot of women have tried to imitate it.
Yeah. She uses her breath. I noticed that a lot.
does.
And like the way she'll end a word, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
She'll like. It reminds me a little of one of your favorites, Chrissy Hind. Like she has like a similar, not necessarily sound, but maybe attitude in her singing.
Kim Gordon probably was influenced by Chrissy Hind and other like. I mean, Chrissy Hind's interesting because she had such commercial success, but she's an outsider. She's cool. Like she's
totally.
You know, she's her own thing. And yeah, there are a lot of cool women that I think that Patti Smith, of course, is like that. I also nobody ever gives Debbie Harry enough credit for this, but I think she's on that list. I think she's so cool. And then also going on like man, Courtney Love. Hugely, and now obviously, right?
Kim Gordon had just produced her album.
Yeah.
Right, her first one.
But I mean, like, I'm not busting Courtney for sounding like her, but like on Orange Rolls, Angel Spit, and on the Strip, that shriek that she has, like, I'm just giving credit to Kim where credit's due. I don't think Courtney was, you know, we're all influenced by people as artists. There's nothing wrong with that. And then, but then that song, Drunken Butterfly, there's a middle section where she goes full on Darby Crash, like the Germs, you know, just this really authentically scary punk rock screaming. It's just a little short section in the middle, but she's a very interesting artist to me.
I agree. She's a force. And I think when we talked about them before, I remember saying that I was like a little scared of her, you know, like these both of them. And
there is a menace to them.
Part of it is like, oh, they're fucking way too cool for me.
Yeah.
But also just they seem like they know what they're doing. Like they kind of earn their cool in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They are cool. Mm-hmm. There is a menace to I think that's true of a lot of Sonic Youth stuff. There's just a menace in there. I do think that a lot of bands are appealing to some of us. They're rarely hugely successful. There are exceptions like the Stones and Guns N' Roses, but most bands that have an authentic danger to them, they become legendary, but they're not ever too commercially successful. Like I said, there are exceptions, but I would make Sonic Youth on that list of bands that have a truly dangerous thing going. Like there's a danger to them, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess you could say that NWA had danger and they became hugely successful. But there's a song called Wish Fulfillment. And I don't know if you notice this, but she's playing a dissonant, and what you might at first listen go, that's the wrong note. She's playing the wrong note on the bass. But she keeps doing it, and it's so interesting. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, like, that could be just instinct, or maybe she's got, you know, she's classically trained in jazz and knows how to do that. I don't know. But
I don't think so. I think that they just had an extraordinary sensibility that they developed, and that they were able to maintain that sensibility for so long. Is sort of, I know they broke up, and you know they broke up under really sort of uncomfortable circumstances because Thurston Moore sort of left Kim Gordon, and she's written about that. I mean, her book is sitting right behind you. I think it's called Girl in a Band, and it's really it's on the top there of that stack. It's kind of an angry book, angry about the state of rock and the state of the world, but it also seems like she's angry about the way that Sonic Youth sort of like fell apart at the end. And but apart from all that bitterness, to me, part of me is like, well, that's better that like it's better to burn out than fade away a little bit. Like it's better that they didn't ever like they never became corny. They were cool. They were cool their whole run. That's pretty hard to do.
I agree with you, and it's a long run.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever called out the Killers for completely ripping off the opening to Sugarcane for their song Somebody Told Me?
That's a good question.
Dude, that is a full-on, somebody told me about the Killers as a full-on, just the opening. The rest of the song is completely different.
Yeah.
But just that opening, I mean, it's
interesting. I wonder
exactly
if anyone has talked about that. Sometimes you hear those things.
The Sugarcane's a very first I remember hearing Sugarcane on the radio and I thought it was the Pixies.
Right.
But
yeah, I don't see anything popping out, but I'm sure other people have noticed that because I don't know. That happens in music, right? Like all of a sudden you're just like, that's a riff I've heard somewhere else.
I think, and there's another. I'm not a huge fan of comparisons. I told you, like, critiquing and stuff, it's part of what we do on this show. It's my just the least interesting part. Sometimes, of course, there's no way to not give an opinion.
Here are my top 10.
But there's no way to not give an opinion. But
Yeah.
but I think what's more interesting is the context of things. So I
sure.
want to couch this in the context of what was going on at the time, rather than making this a which one's better or a comparison. But I think that because of what was happening in music at this moment, and because of who Sonic Youth had been and what they're doing now, the addition of the use of Butch Vig and Eddie Wallace, I think that sometimes you can't help but you would not be able to help but put Dirty and Nevermind side by side. And I got to tell you that in some ways I think this is a better record than Nevermind. I do. So if you just love, and of course the criteria is important, if you just love great songwriting, then Nevermind wins. If you just love great melodies, great hooks, good lyric, like the core principles of songwriting, then Nevermind wins hands down. Sure. However, if you like truly innovative music ideas, if you like bands that want to explore the sonic terrain and are fearless, and they're not afraid to take a piece of music in somewhere where melodies and hooks don't go, and then they can pull it back and put it all into something that captures you. I think Dirty is a better record than Nevermind. I do.
That's fuel for debate, obviously. But
Sure.
I mean, what it makes me think about is you and I talked about this sort of like that kind of like noise avant thing that sometimes Nirvana does.
Yeah.
They're better pop song crafters than they are at doing that noise art rock thing. And I think Sonic Youth is doing both on Dirty. And if I were going to like buy your argument and be like, actually, yeah, Dirty's like a better record, quote unquote, better or more artful or whatever, it's because they are good at both of those things.
I would totally agree with you.
But I think that Nirvana's hooks are better.
And I think that this becomes a very interesting discussion about finding an artist finding their true voice, because I've said this before, but all the stuff that Nirvana's done, like on Bleach and like the old Nirvana stuff that is more dissonant and is more noise oriented, it's a lot less compelling once you've listened to Mark Lanegan and the Melvins,
Right.
where obviously Kurt got a lot of that influence. So that noise rock version of Nirvana is an influenced version of Kurt Cobain, in my opinion. Him really hailing to his influences, which we all did when, the first record I made sounded exactly like Stiff Little Fingers when I was at 16 or 17, right? Because that's who I was in love with.
Of course, yeah.
But I think he found his voice as a songwriter on Nevermind and In Utero. That's his true voice, is just these incredible melodies, really smart lyrics, great singing, and simple but punchy, great raw music, right?
Yeah,
and I think that with Sonic Youth, their authentic voice is that noisiness, that noise, like you said, and they also know their way around a hook. Like they have both of those things,
right? But I don't think they're necessarily trying for the same kind of hook world that Nirvana was. Like I think Kurt Cobain really wanted to write catchy melodies, and we said that about when we listened to Nevermind, that it was. Every single song gets stuck in your head, and with Sonic Youth's Dirty, it's not quite like that. They might get stuck in your head, but they're not quite the same punchiness, and I don't think they're going for that.
They're nowhere near as, like I said, if you want those melodies that stick in your head forever, and then Nevermind wins hands down. So they don't have those kind of
if you're looking for great music, Nevermind. But if you want something shitty,
some weird crazy shit that you'll never put on again, you know what? I'll tell you something else that's interesting about this record. They have a moment on this record. They have a song on this album called Purr, and it's the only time I've heard Sonic Youth sound really influenced by somebody, and it's Dinosaur Jr.
Yeah, I could see that.
He said, "I learned it all from you, girl." Like he sounds so much like Jay Mascis on Bug, or You're Living All Over Me. And they toured with both Nirvana and Dinosaur Jr. back, I think in '91. They all toured together. I think, listen, J Mascis is an easy person to be influenced by. He's got a really cool way of doing things. He's a fantastic guitar player.
And he's another guy who's maintained his sense of cool and uncompromising attitude about his art like the whole time. He's always been a cool guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so let's move on. Sonic Youth Dirty is awesome. And I think that Sonic Youth will be returning to this podcast at some point. But let's move on to another album from the rock world, another political album, actually. This is Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction, the 5th studio album. Dave Mustaine is a figure that we got to talk about because we talked about Metallica's Black Album a few episodes ago. And Metallica had this moment, and this type of metal, this type of like thrash metal, is having its big popular moment in the early 90s, it seems like.
So Metallica does for like speed metal and thrash what Nirvana did for underground music. Now, you can say, well, that Black Album isn't speed metal. It's true. It's got some elements of it, but mostly it's a pop record. But the same is true for Nevermind. Mm-hmm. So once again, all these people that have been playing with Metallica for 10 years and same kind of music are looking at them going, well, shit, if they can do it, can we do it too?
Yeah.
Because, all that success and all that power, like, I think for these bands, who knows? Maybe they were just money-hungry scumbags. But what they were probably looking for was the autonomy and the power that came with success. From not having to listen to fucking idiots at record labels tell you what to do anymore.
Yeah.
Not having to drive around in a van, like being able to get a bus or a plane. Like that. They were probably seeking the autonomy and the self-reliance that came with the success.
I have never heard this album before. I was kind of preparing myself for a kind of like sludgy experience of metal that I'm not really that into, but I found myself sort of surprised by a couple things about this album. One, the kind of stripped down part of it.
It's cool.
That there's just like some punchy riffs going on.
That's cool.
I was liking that. The political content, which is really like up front in a lot of this stuff. There's songs about poverty, war. I mean, you get a lot of that in this era of metal.
He's a better lyricist than Hetfield.
Yeah, well,
not a huge bar to get over, but he's a better lyricist.
Right, but also, he sounds like Hetfield a lot in some ways. I think he's a better singer. And I wonder what you think about that. But what I like about him as a singer, besides like better or worse, because I know people compare endlessly Mustaine versus Hetfield, but what I would say about what I liked about him on this record is that he has like a sarcasm about him, like a humor, like he's doing like this sneering voice a lot. And
he sounds like Axl Rose sometimes, doesn't
he?
Like
a jokey thing going on.
Yeah.
I found this album really interesting, honestly.
I thought it was cool too. Yeah. First of all, I like that they're not just called Death. It's Megadeth.
Right.
That's a lot more death than just death.
And there's no A in death, which makes it extra scary because these guys don't know how to spell.
Yeah, I think this kind of, so in my opinion, and I this is not my wheelhouse. For me, talking about thrash and speed metal and all that kind of stuff, it's like me talking about rap music. It's something I was paying attention to at the time, listened to a little bit. There were artists I liked, but for the most part, I wasn't in that world.
You're not a head, not a metal head or a hip hop head. But I think that's partly what makes. I would just want to say that's partly what makes our takes interesting. If they had, like, to me, like if I'm listening to hip hop heads talk about hip hop, I'm fucking lost. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I don't know. I sort of. I like sometimes hearing from people that are sort of coming at it from the outside.
Yeah, I think
especially because this music is kind of hitting people that aren't necessarily all heads. That's the point of this album, right?
Yeah, that was the goal.
Yeah,
and I think you're right. I think that is interesting, and I also think it's the place from which people go, "This fucking guy doesn't know what he's talking about."
Yeah,
and that's true. I know. So
for sure, you're inviting people to hate you
as a person. Bring the hate.
Yeah,
as a person who doesn't consider myself an aficionado of the style of music, I really think that what Megadeth is doing here actually sounds less commercial. The guitars are very unprocessed. The drums are raw sounding. It's heavy, but it's musical. I like that. Now, maybe for diehard Megadeth fans who were into like, Peace Sells, Who's Buying. What's some of the other ones that are earlier records?
Killing is my business and business is good.
So
that's a great fucking name for a record.
Maybe for the old school fans, this is, a watered down pussy version of.
I don't know. I mean,
I liked it.
Yeah, and what I liked about it is, like I said, it's not. It's about serious shit. He's talking about mental illness on here, but it's not. It doesn't take itself so seriously. There's sort of a fun to what they're doing.
I'm going to see them this year.
No way.
I am. My son and I are going to see Iron Maiden on September 27th.
Oh, and Megadeth are opening.
LA. Anthrax and Megadeth are both opening.
Fucking A.
So I'm going to see these guys this year, and they have a kinship with Maiden, in that they're like sort of no frills, straight ahead, just heavy badass rock music. The lyrics are not, if I'm going to talk about lyrical content comparing the two projects that we just talked about, there's Nothing Else Matters on this album from Megadeth. There's no cheesy love ballad that makes me go, oh my God, fast forward, and I think they have some kinship there with Maiden. Megadeth.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both projects seem like they're, again, bringing music that has a kind of underground danger to it to the masses. And we've talked about that a lot on this podcast, because it seems like that's what the main theme of the 90s was sort of like stuff that was only cool and popular among a select group of people, and then it bridged into the mainstream. And the question is, well, what did it gain and what did it lose in bridging over into the mainstream? Right.
So I wish someone who really knew their work could explain that to me, because this does. Yeah, I have to admit I'm way more familiar with Metallica. Like I've listened to Injustice for All and Kill 'Em All and stuff.
Yeah.
So but that was a tremendous departure. The Black Album is still heavy, and it has balls, and there's some great riffs on it and stuff, but it's obviously not just an underground speed metal thrash album. And I don't think Megadeth went so far into the pop realm with this record.
Right. Yeah, I don't think so either.
No, right?
Yeah. There's no part of it is the lyrical content. A lot of what Metallica, and we talked about this, a lot of what Metallica does on the Black Album is, there's like power ballad type stuff on there. There's stuff that's very like soul searching. It's very personal. Whereas Megadeth is still doing that like metal thing about like nuclear holocaust and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they are, I guess it's always the question of like, are they keeping it real or are they washing something out? And I feel like the allegation of a washout probably sticks more on Metallica than it does on Megadeth with this album.
Yeah. I don't hear it that way. When I listen to this record out of the context of that moment, just going back and listening to it as a fan of music, it sounds ballsy and raw, and like it kicks ass to me.
I agree.
It doesn't sound in any way like they were kowtowing to the industry to try to fit into some playlist, but they kind of were. They admit it.
Yeah.
Like their drummer said Metallica at the time, he said, their drummer's name is Nick Menza. He said, Metallica has definitely opened the doors for other bands to step through. We're obviously the next band to step through that doorway. So they were aware that they were changing to become more palatable commercially, but they don't feel, this doesn't sound sold out to me at all.
No, not at all.
So that, and like you said, all the themes, climate change and global disasters and war and just suicide and madness. There's a song
him talking to himself.
Yeah. It's that's standard speed metal fare. It's not,
Yeah.
Whereas I thought that it's, there's a time in the 80s when Aerosmith went from being cocaine-fueled blues rockers to like playing Diane Warren songs. They were playing these big hit songs like I don't want to miss a thing.
Oh, that's like the 90s Aerosmith, yeah.
That's yeah,
With
90s,
the
sorry.
Alicia Silverstone videos and
Right.
the Liv Tyler
That was
videos.
the 90s?
That was the 90s, dude.
Shit, I remember
Yeah,
that was
I
the
came of
80s.
age watching those videos with which is gross now to think about that. Like his daughter was like the hot girl in these videos and really selling her as like, you know, Catholic schoolgirl, plaid skirts and all that kind of shit.
Yep.
These are rich memories for me, but the music isn't what I remember most. I'm just not. I'm sorry, Steven Tyler, but I'm just not a fucking Aerosmith fan.
Yeah,
and
but-
that era of Aerosmith, the earlier stuff is way better. It's kind of like Van Halen. Like you talk about Van Halen, you played, you know, the what Mean Street. Like I listened to that stuff because you had suggested. I never heard the early Van Halen, and I was like, this stuff is awesome compared to the kind of like cheesy shit that I grew up on in the like later 80s and 90s.
So the same thing that Aerosmith did, that's what the Black Album sounds like to me.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds clearly like a band changing gears.
Yeah, they're making tearjerker songs.
To try to. And, you know, now they've got, like, what's the song called? Is it Whatever I May Roam? Is that the... That's got the Power Slave from Iron Maiden swagger to it.
Right.
There's some great songs on that record.
Yeah.
But it's super clear to me, even now listening to it, like Metallica changed into something different for whatever their purposes were. Whereas I don't think that's true of this Megadeth record. And I just think that, you know, at the time Metallica was really criticized by a lot of their fans for what they did.
Yeah, of course. I think the trade-off is with, and I don't know how conscious this is among bands like this, but they have to know that they're going to alienate some of their core,
obviously,
and trade those like true believers for like a bigger portion of the market.
Yeah, and even like
it's a cynical attitude, but it's, I mean, if you're trying to make it big.
I went back and read some of the reviews. So at the time, Spin wrote this record by Megadeth said it may just be the finest thrash metal album ever made, although purists may find it a bit too polished and easy to swallow.
There you go.
You know me. If there's one thing that's true about me, I love things that are easy to swallow.
Hello, we're cutting that. I'm sick of these jokes, John. I don't like it. No, what you led me astray from what I think was a great point you were making, and now I have to recover it. But what I was thinking about is sort of like, what is, you know, if you go, you know, can you appeal to a huge, hundreds of millions of people, and maintain that nugget of like pure raw shit?
Of course you can.
That
lots of people have done it.
It's rare.
Tons of people.
It's rare though.
It is rare, but so is success in the music. I mean, yeah, dude. So Iron Maiden's as big as Metallica, with none of the capitulation.
Are they?
I think so. I mean,
are they as rich as Metallica?
That's a different question.
Okay.
They did not get the radio play and the things that produced.
What do you mean big? Like sales, album sales? Or just...
Go on Spotify and see who has more monthly users right now. Because in album sales, radio play, MTV, Metallica's going to dwarf Iron Maiden.
Right.
But in terms of a fan base of millions of people around the world who love them, I don't think that Metallica's as big as Maiden. I could be wrong, but what? How many? Let's find out. I probably am wrong about that, but they're close. I'll bet.
I'm thinking Metallica has way more monthly listeners and streamers. If we're just going by streaming numbers,
I don't know what else to.
There's a great clip, by the way, of Billy Corgan, our old friend Billy Corgan, talking about exactly this, because he's like, the numbers don't fucking matter to me, how many streams. He's like, first of all, the streams don't really get like the whole breadth of the whole history of the song, because streaming has only been around for, 15 years or something like that. But he's also like, I know that and this is Billy Corgan, I know that I have songs that have fucking shit numbers on streaming that have connected with people in a way that like they play them at their weddings. They like it's their song, and he's like, that's what matters to me.
I bet that's true.
Yeah, right.
No, I agree with him on that.
Okay, so Metallica has 32 million monthly listeners. So remember that number, 32 million people listen to Metallica
That's pretty
on
good.
Spotify. Iron Maiden has 9 million. So Iron Maiden is just
Not
in
even
the
close.
garbage dump compared to Metallica.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been my prediction. Metallica's fucking huge, dude. When they announced that Sphere thing that's happening actually in October and next year, they're doing it over the course of the next year. That Sphere residency, they're charging nearly $1,000 a ticket for that shit, and people they're sold out.
Go.
It sold out so quickly they immediately added more shows.
Yeah,
and I knew it because they were like Metallica at the Sphere. But it's just, and you know who's buying those tickets? It's people that obviously have money. You know what I mean?
People our age.
It's not like a bunch of like garage rock metal kids. It's
kids.
It's people who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who are like, I have the money and time to go to Vegas and see Metallica do their ultra glossy Sphere show.
Yeah.
And God, if someone would buy me a ticket, I would totally go.
Hey,
but
do me a
there's
favor.
no way I'm paying that.
Do me a favor. The part where you were right and I was wrong, edit that out of the
yeah,
clip. I've got an image to.
You really thought Iron Maiden and Metallica were rivals in terms of their numbers? Come on.
I believe that if you looked at who could pack stadiums at this time, I think they were neck and neck.
Well, I think Iron Maiden, I will say, they have a fucking impressive run. I mean, the fact that there's still 10 million people listening to them every month is kind of crazy because I can't name like an Iron Maiden hit song.
And that was the point of all of that.
Yeah.
Was you said, can people become huge and not
wash it out?
They did not have hit songs. I mean,
Right.
like 2 Minutes to Midnight was on MTV a little bit, but they made videos. But they
the Trooper, is that one of theirs?
yeah, that's a really well known song. But,
Right.
but it wasn't all over the radio like
Right.
like Unforgiven.
Or
Metallica had hit songs.
Yeah.
And hit videos, and Iron Maiden never had that. Speaking of Iron Maiden too, something that makes me really love Dave Mustaine. He reminds me like on High Speed Dirt, and This Is My Life. He's got this way of singing that reminds me of Paul Di'Anno, the guy who was sang on Killers, and like the singer that was Iron Maiden singer before Bruce Dickinson. I love Paul Di'Anno. He died recently, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got Dave Mustaine's got, it's like this thin, reedy, ballsy, like it's got a little bit of Bon Scott in there. It's a really great thing, and Mustaine does it. And then Mustaine has a little bit of Axl Rose in there too. You know that really nasal high snarl thing?
Yeah.
He has a little bit of that in there too. I have to give, in terms of singing, I would give Hetfield the edge, just because he's so unique. Nobody else sounds like James Hetfield.
Yeah, that growl.
He's got his own, his own thing that he does, and he's probably imitated a lot. But he's got a very unique thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are reasons why Metallica hits so hard with a huge audience.
Of course.
And I think there are things that are that we can catalog, and there are also just a lot of things that just come together and have a magic to them. It's like, yeah, I mean, even when I saw the fucking email come through, Metallica at the Sphere, my friends and I were all texting each other like, should we fucking go? And I'm like, what is that? Like, I'll sit here and like make fun of Metallica. I don't even listen to them that much, and yet I felt like I should go. And that wouldn't be true of like most other bands.
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy.
I have a question for our friends on the internet. This is curiosity, but this conversation we had has intrigued me. I'm not online.
Yeah,
I got to use my phone.
I'm the laptop guy. Go ahead.
How many records did Metallica sell from 1990 to 1999, and how many records did Iron Maiden sell?
Sell from 1990 to 1999.
Yes, because that's still a good barometer of what was,
In the 90s, Metallica sold approximately 60 million records.
Sheesh.
Yeah,
that's big.
Yeah, and you're asking what did Iron Maiden sell in the same period? Iron Maiden in the 90s sold 8 to 10 million records.
Wow.
Again, embarrassing.
They also they broke up pretty soon.
Yeah,
they didn't make it to the 90s.
Well, and I don't think of Iron Maiden as like necessarily having a big 90s run. They're still selling 10 million records.
They were much bigger in the 80s. But even that number, Like that's with no radio support.
Right.
No, that's just fans loving
Right.
who they are. And so, yeah, and then like I said, they didn't last through the 90s like Metallica did, you know, but
Okay, well, that's Countdown to Extinction. Definitely an album worth a listen if you're at all interested in the metal genre, because it felt like just kind of a pure metal album to me.
I really
ways.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I hope people that are diehard Megadeth fans get in the comments and tell us what they think about that record. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'd be curious. Okay, so our next album is from a dear old friend of ours. We've talked about him several times, and I wonder what new we can say about this guy, Morrissey, whose third studio album came out in July 92. It's called Your Arsenal. It's a very different sound than the other solo records we've heard from Morrissey. It's got a sort of a little bit of rockabilly and a little bit of, like, I don't know, David Bowie glam to it mixed in there. It's like a bigger sound. It's more rockin'.
It's very heavier for him. Less sheeny pop, more of like guitar, rooted in guitars. It was produced by Mick Ronson, who had worked with Bowie on Ziggy Stardust and worked with Lou Reed on Transformer, and he had as part of that, like the T-Rex influenced sound, early glam sound. And
I was thinking about your take on Morrissey, because we've made a couple Morrissey videos, I think, that we put out there.
What more could we say about Morrissey that hasn't already been said?
Exactly. That you've got this great Morrissey impression, in part because there's such an affect to what he's doing.
Oh,
but
hairdresser on fire.
Exactly. But what you said also is that you find it, you find what he does amusing and entertaining. And I was thinking about that while I was listening to this. That I always like what he's doing.
I love Morrissey.
It's never the Smiths,
right?
But maybe that's not what it's meant to be or what it's gonna be. But I find something really appealing about it, even though I think he's a total douchebag.
I could if somebody said I can't stand Morrissey. There's so many artists like this to whom I love. Like it's like Dylan. I'm a huge Dylan fan.
Mm-hmm.
But when somebody goes, I can't take his voice, I get it. I don't fight him on it. I go, yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
If somebody goes, I can't fucking take Morrissey, I get it. He's insufferable in his own way.
Well, it's kind of like I like drinking bourbon, but I don't think if someone says, "Oh, I hate bourbon," I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, it's not for everyone. It's an acquired taste. It might even be genetic. Like you're sort of like you like what you like. And I can totally see being turned off by Morrissey.
Yeah. And he has the misfortune of being in a band like the Smiths that he'll forever be compared to. Playing with a genius like Johnny Marr and making like these, 4 perfect albums.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's always going to get compared to that. I don't think he's ever been able to accomplish something that matches the Smiths. That's my personal opinion.
Did you like this sound on this one?
I liked parts of it. For him, it's an important record because his last record, it was called Kill Uncle, I think, and it flopped. And this is when he started working with a guy named Elaine White, who the guitar player on this record, who became his songwriting partner. And this is the band that he goes through the rest of the 90s with.
Right.
And he'd had a lot of different people. He worked with Stephen Street, I think the guy's name is. And he a lot of people, he was like a sort of revolving door of players and people he was working with. And, Morrissey needs a songwriter partner. He needs a songwriting partner. He needs a Johnny Marr, right? So Elaine White becomes this person that he's working with. And Elaine White is a huge Smiths fan. You can probably tell by some of the songs on this record. And so but the band was harder edged. Like I said, Mick Ronson, he produced it. Morrissey said that Mick Ronson saved his career with this record.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the song. I Know It's Gonna Happen Someday sounds very Smithsy.
Elaine White said I think that's one. Let me see. Which song is it? Or maybe it's I'm thinking of Seaside Still Docked. He said he was trying to write a Smith song.
Interesting. Yeah.
So the interesting thing about this, Mick Ronson had cancer at this time. He was dying of cancer during the production. This is the last record he ever produced. He died shortly after this, and and Morrissey loved working with him. He said it was one of his great privileges in his life was to work with Mick Ronson. He said he was a perfect gentleman, so kind and down to earth. And he even took Morrissey aside and told him, your drummer really can't play. And Morrissey said, "Yeah, but it's never really been a problem." And it's true. If you listen, the drums are very perfunctory on this record. He's not a great drummer, but that Morrissey doesn't need a great drummer.
Right. Who cares? I'm here for Morrissey.
That's true.
That's what I was sort of thinking about with. I mean, maybe that's why we all love the Smiths so much, is because the band is so good.
Right.
Whereas and Morrissey is so good that I don't give a shit what his band sounds like. So hearing a kind of more upfront rockabilly electric guitar sound on this, I was sort of kind of like, I don't need it. You know, like that was sort of my take was. I just want Morrissey.
Okay.
But I mean, there are a couple acoustic type songs on here that are really great.
Well, I don't think this was by design, but you can see how this more guitar forward sound gained him a little bit of popularity in the 90s, you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't think he was like reading the room and going, "We need more guitar." But
I mean, he's one of those guys that's, clearly got a thing that is so affecting that he's got a legion of people that just will always listen to him. It doesn't matter.
I wonder.
He can do no wrong.
I wonder what it is about this. I've seen Morrissey twice, at least once. I'm sorry, I don't remember, but I've seen him at least once. I think I've seen him twice where he only played 5 songs and left because the fans were jumping all over him.
It's insane.
Pulling his clothes off and stuff.
Yeah.
He
it's
sold
like
out
Elvis or something.
He sold out the Forum around this time.
Yeah.
Like right before this album. He sold out the Forum faster than Madonna or Michael Jackson had. He's got this rabid following.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if it's the way he plays with sexuality, that he keeps it a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very interesting writer.
Yeah.
He's very autobiographical. He's clever. He's one of those guys. I talk about this a lot.
He says right-wing things. He says left-wing things.
I mean, but I talk about this a lot. He doesn't restrict himself to the confines of poetry. Like Michael Stipe does that.
Right.
Perry Farrell, we talked about, he does that.
Yeah.
Morrissey doesn't rhyme things. To find a perfect rhyme is not as important to him as to say exactly what he wants to say.
Right.
And he's able to be literal in a way that is both humorous and engaging. Like we talked about Henry Rollins, who will just say, if he's feeling depressed, he'll go, "I am depressed."
Yeah.
Instead of having any kind of, there's no
a lot of people responded to that video and they were like, "What's wrong with that? What's wrong with being direct?"
Yeah, right. Well, there may be nothing. But Morrissey is able to do it in a way that is artful. He has a song on here called "We Hate It When Our Friends Are Successful." And you know what it's about? It's about not liking it when your friends become successful.
Especially if they're from the North. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. He can do it. But he's got a way. He's got a magic way of expressing a song that he's almost got like Sinatra had this. Frank Sinatra, the way that he got up there and interpreted lyrics made audiences respond to him in some crazy way, and Morrissey has that.
Morrissey might be one of the closest analogs we have to Sinatra in a modern sense. When I think about it, because I said Elvis, but it really is more like Sinatra, because there's a certain power to his phrasing and affect and relationship to fans that is, it's just really, really potent. It's funny because I'm reading. I think I've mentioned to you many times how much I'm enjoying this book about U2. It's called U2 by U2. Yeah. There's no writer. It's great. There's no author. It's all just interviews with the guys, with John, Paul, George, and Ringo, who are the band U2. There's a section where Bono is talking about being young and hitting it big in America, and all of a sudden he's at Live Aid and he's like running into people like Paul McCartney and Bob Dylan who are praising him, and it's like blowing his mind. He's all of a sudden like seeing his heroes and meeting these people, and he meets Lou Reed, and when he's talking to Lou Reed, he asks him, "Lou, do you have like songwriting advice? Like, what was your number one piece of songwriting advice? Because you write such great songs." And he said Lou sat there silently for a long time and said, "You can't give a fuck about rhyming. You don't have to give a fuck about rhyming." And I thought that was interesting, because we've talked about that with artists before, that like there are constraints to pop songs, but not necessarily always.
That's easy for Lou to say.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of songwriters get into trouble with that. You got to be true to your voice.
Yeah.
And if you know, if you can, if that's not, if it's true to your voice to say fuck the poetry, I'm going to get the thing said, then that works. But if you were, you know, Chris Martin and you tried to take Lou Reed's advice, you'd probably fuck up.
Right.
You know, because Chris Martin is a guy who should be writing nursery rhymes. You know, he's a sweet, happy little piano player in Coldplay, right?
One other funny story about the Bono thing. He goes and hangs out with the Rolling Stones. I thought you would love this scene because they're asking him like, "Hey, what are your favorite songs? Let's cover some songs." And Bono is like, "I'm listening to them," and they're just fucking around together. They're like playing blues songs that they know. They're not playing their own songs. And Bono explains to them, "I don't know any songs. Like, I don't know. I only know
U2 songs."
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're like stunned by that. They think it's really like gauche. And like Keith Richards is like, you need to learn about American blues. Like, you need to understand who John Lee Hooker is and who all of the Robert Johnson. And he plays all this stuff for him. And Bono begins to learn. And this what leads into the Rattle and Hum album.
Joshua Tree and Rattle and Hum, heavily influenced by American blues.
Right.
That's interesting.
And where they start like actually being into blues songs. But I thought it was really funny that Bono was like, I thought of us as like punks who are inventing our own thing based on Joy Division and Echo and the Bunnymen and Television and shit like that. We didn't really cover songs at all, and we didn't give a fuck about American blues because we were learning about it from like 70s AM washed out blues shit that was like corny to us. We didn't know. And what Keith Richards said to him is like, when you hear real blues, you'll feel frightened. Like, you should be scared when you listen to it. And Bono was like, and I got what he was talking about in this, and that it enriched them as artists for sure. But I just thought it was really interesting that U2 became huge without really knowing too much about music.
That's very interesting, and I totally get that. Because they became pretty popular when they were all like 19 and 20. So
yeah,
when would you learn all those songs?
Right.
You know?
So did the Stones, though. The Stones were like huge when they were that age.
Yeah, but what got them into music was the blues. Well, at least Keith Richards. What got them and also listening to the blues got them into music. Whereas, as Bono said, they were listening to 70s European new wave. You know?
It's sort of the opposite for the Stones because they just did straight Chicago blues covers, and like record companies were like, "You guys should write your own shit," and they were like, "How do you do that?"
Right.
They had to like learn how to do it.
The opposite.
Okay, so we've got one more album to talk about.
There's one more story about this record.
Oh, yeah, please.
There's a song. There's an interesting story. Okay?
Moving on from Morrissey. Yeah.
So there's a song on the record called I Know It's Gonna Happen. Mm-hmm. And Bowie worked with Ron. Ironically, this is the one song on the album that Ronson didn't produce. But
it's a great song.
But Bowie worked with Ronson a lot. And when he heard the song, he kind of went, "Oh, Morrissey's kind of doing me, doing Bowie." And so Bowie re-recorded the song and put on it and released it on his Black Tie White Noise album.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that. Now I want to hear it.
That came out the year after Your Arsenal, and they met. Bowie and Morrissey met, became friends. Bowie invites Morrissey to open for him on his 1995 tour. And in typical fucking Morrissey drama fashion, he got offended by something, pissed off by something, and quit 5 days into the tour.
You got to be kidding.
No.
Wow.
He's such a fucking drama queen.
But part of his appeal, I guess.
My brother's a giant Morrissey fan.
I know that.
And Joey, I'd love to call Joey and say, how many concerts have you attended that have you had tickets for that Morrissey canceled?
Yeah.
I know it's at least 3.
Yeah. Well, he was just in the news for canceling one just a few weeks ago, and he said it was because there was noise at the hotel and he didn't sleep. And I was like, really?
Kind of
like, you're at this level? And like,
he
said they were doing construction outside. Right. But the way he put it, you talk about drama queen. He was like, my life was a living nightmare last night. I didn't sleep. It's going to take me weeks to recover. And I was just like, really? Like, because if I hear some noise at night and I can't sleep, it's not that big a deal. Yeah. And I would think, like, if you're a touring musician for decades,
I don't think is having a rough night's sleep anywhere near as hard as getting to a show now. Like the people that bought the tickets and drove and parked and wait for you, like it's so disrespectful to the fans.
Yeah.
This band, this is the band used the rest of the 90s. And if you want an interesting thing, they're on on I Know It's Gonna Happen Someday.
Mm-hmm.
That song is like 3/4 time. It's like a waltz almost.
Yes.
And in a waltz, there's space, and it lays bare the limitations of players.
Mm-hmm.
It will do that. And this song does that for the drummer.
Right.
Mick Ronson was right.
It's harder to play
Yeah.
slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mick
Right.
Ronson was right.
Yeah. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I see that at the jazz club a lot because you've been there. You see that there are like on these jam sessions, different drummers come up, and the guy that runs it, Tyler, is like a fantastic drummer.
Yeah.
And he always plays a ballad. They always play the opening band always plays a jazz standard and then a ballad and then some sort of fusion weird 70s shit. And during the ballads, I'm always watching Tyler as a drummer. He's doing slow shit. But it's so juicy.
Tasty,
it's still, It sets a tone so beautifully. I could see that being really hard, actually. And the other drummers that get up there, not to be named, they can't really pull that slow thing off. And I'm like, well, they're gonna do a ballad.
So one of the shows that I work with an organization. We do classic rock albums, and if you want to learn how good a drummer is, listen to them play Dark Side of the Moon.
Interesting.
Nick Mason is a genius. It's so slow. And to be able to keep the groove,
Yeah.
to be able to keep the feel happening and the pocket alive at that slow, like not just any drummer can do it.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
That is, yeah. I never really thought about that
Yeah.
before, but it makes sense. Okay, so one last album from July 1992 is called Gordon by a band called Barenaked Ladies.
That's all the time we have, everybody. Thank you very much.
I know this must be a cherished treasure for you.
Oh,
I was young enough to listen to Barenaked Ladies a lot in the 90s, and they're a dorky band. They're nerd rock. They're corny. They kind of fall into that category that we've talked about before, where there's a little it's like, is this band a joke? Or is it like there's a lot of humor and jokes and
there's a silliness and a
puns,
campy,
but there's also something really earnest about a lot of their songs. Like,
Yeah.
I would say even like into the realm of corniness. What I was thinking about, because on the heels of the Morrissey album, like going from Morrissey into Barenaked Ladies, I was thinking Barenaked Ladies are like if Morrissey and They Might Be Giants like had a baby, and that baby was Canadian. And that's how you get Barenaked Ladies.
I was thinking how Barenaked Ladies and Megadeth are like indecipherable from one another.
Right, they're the same thing.
It's
Yeah.
the same thing pretty much.
Well, honestly, the end caps of this list, Sonic Youth, just unimpeachably cool. Barenaked Ladies, like as far from cool as you could possibly be.
Della made me aware of this band back then,
Yeah.
when I first met her. Well, Della and I met in like '96. But she was into these guys. This particular record, in fact, they remind me of. Okay, there's a Simpsons episode where they're watching a commercial for Duff Gardens. And it says featuring the non-threatening, clean-shaven sounds of "Hooray for Everything." Do you remember this?
Right. Yeah.
And "Hooray for Everything" is they're on The Simpsons a couple times. They're this spoof on Up With People, which was this music group, this really clean-cut music group that would go in and to schools and take stuff that was kind of edgy and make it, bake a positive message into it for the kids.
Right.
So, and "Hooray for Everything," in the Simpsons episode, they announced them like that way. They said the non-threatening, clean-shaven sounds of "Hooray for Everything," and they come out on stage. These 5 young people, like super clean-cut in cardigans, and they start singing "Walk on the Wild Side" by Lou Reed. And then they get to the end of the thing, and it says, and all the races sing, do, and all, like it's a
instead of the
my
colored
small
girls.
it's a small world, all comes from, and they're the rock band version of "Hooray for Everything."
Barenaked Ladies.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
were huge though. It's very 90s. The sort of like even the style of humor. Like at one point there's a line that where he says, it's the song that's actually one of their hits, "If I Had $1 Million."
Yeah.
And he says, "I would buy some art, maybe a Picasso or a Garfunkel." And it's like, God,
So it's
is-
right. It's a type of humor it's clever. It is. It's
Right.
clever, but it's winking. Like, how clever am I? You know, they even named the album Gordon. Get it? You know, like
Right.
it's so. It's a very self-aware, cheesy type of humor, but it is very 90s. That's rife with cultural references. You know, like.
But so is They Might Be Giants, and They Might Be Giants aren't like this. Like They Might Be Giants have like a sort of like intelligence and darkness to them. Like their lyrics just fucking, they always blow me away with how clever they are. They're clever, in other words, but not in this precious way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
it's because they're New Yorkers and not Canadians.
and that's true. And the Canadian music from the 80s and the 90s, and I'm thinking of bands like The Odds and gosh, we toured with them, who was Tragically Hip, and
We listened
and
to
then
Crash Test Dummies.
Crash Test Dummies,
Yeah.
and these guys, it's so toothless. But you know what? It's a reflection of the society. That's a compliment to Canada. Like
This is what like universal healthcare does to art.
yeah, universal health care. You can go to school if you want. Like in America, the grunge movement, it's like this self-destructive, drug-addled, it's self-loathing nihilism that has metastasized into something far worse now of anger and rage, and like it's indicative of the society. And of course they're going to make music that's upbeat and sweet and happy because they're in fucking normal.
They don't have any problems. It's like, it's funny.
They have one problem, and it's the south of them.
Right. Like the savage society that creates edgy punk rock. No, that's a really interesting point. I mean, it makes sense to me, honestly. And I know it's not. I mean, the political economies of these respective countries don't explain everything about their art, because there is I think there is kind of like a folksy humor thing going on in Canada. But we've also talked about like Canada producing some of the biggest like edgy like comedians and artists that come.
They
down.
gave us, dude.
Yeah.
They gave us Neil Young.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, like they're off. They get a free pass forever off of Neil Young. And
Right.
for me, Rush. I know a lot of
John
people
Candy.
John
people
Candy.
like
All
that, you
those
know.
guys.
Yeah.
Martin Short.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the Second City comedians.
All the guys we love. You know.
Fucking love them.
So many of them.
But John Candy, and Martin Short, and Dan Aykroyd, and Gilda Radner, they're not George Carlin.
Right.
And fucking what's the guy? Bill
Bill Hicks.
Bill Hicks. They're not these dark, sardonic,
Yeah.
acerbic comics that once again they're great comedians and I love them, but there's a lightness to all of the things they do.
Jim Carrey's probably one of the biggest Canadian exports,
Is he?
honestly.
Yeah,
And
is
he's sort of, I mean,
He's
we could
sweet.
debate it. He's not super edgy.
No.
Yeah.
No, he's not. We got so. I'll tell you something, man. I saw David Cross
Yeah.
on stage talking to Canadians, and he said, "You want to know how fucking sick America is? You want to know how depraved and shitty a society we are, Canada? You know what we make fun of you guys for? You're polite.
Yeah.
You're polite and you're kind to each other, and we think that's hilarious.
Right.
That's how fucked up we are.
Yeah.
And yeah.
David Cross is a good example of like sort of the different style of
Yeah.
comedy that is savage in its way. I can buy this. And Barenaked Ladies is a good example of kind of like this washed out corny thing that
they did hit it big, but it was toward the end of this decade when they had their massive hit singles, and there was a resurgence in that sort of very non-threatening generic pop rock, all like folk rock, like Matchbox 20, Jason Mraz.
Well, their song "One Week" I think is arguably one of the biggest pop songs of the 90s.
Yeah.
And captures something, because I mean, if you remember, there's like rap in that song.
Is it rap? I mean, there's fast rhyming in it.
Yeah,
It's like
watching
Dave
X-Files
Matthews.
with the lights on, with la maison.
Yeah, If I like Kurosawa, I make mad films. I don't make films, but if I did, they'd have a samurai. Like
It's painful to hear.
it's very painful.
Yeah.
But you can see a bunch of back in the day, I would have said that they are I would not say this now. I'm far too spiritually and socially advanced to say this now.
Sure, yeah.
But I would say that this band is what upper middle class Caucasian nerds would listen to prove they were into rock. I also
That hits
appreciate
a little close to home, honestly. John.
exactly.
Yeah.
This is David thinks that Ron Howard movies are edgy.
Hey, Ron Howard has some edgy film. No, I mean, what's funny? It's funny you say that because I remember listening to Barenaked Ladies as a 16-year-old or something, 17. Whenever I was young, and I remember listening to it, and the stuff that I liked was the kind of like the more earnest stuff, which is even more cringy to me now. There's songs on here that are sort of serious, quote unquote songs.
Yeah.
Where the one I'm thinking about is What a Good Boy.
What a good boy.
Yeah,
what a sweet boy.
It's painful to hear now, and it's partly because I'm thinking of my own sort of investment in it when I was younger. But that's what got me about them is they're back and forth. They're doing a little bit of humor, but then they would have these serious songs where they're trying to do a little, I don't know, I wouldn't call it emo, but it's like emoting, sentimental songs.
I want to, I like I said, I don't have a harsh opinion of what they did back then. I've changed a little bit. They have an impressive rhythm section in this band. Their bass player Jim Cregan, I think his name is, he does a couple of bass solos on the stand-up that are fucking killer. They can
harmonize too.
The vocals are perfect.
That's the secret of their band is that somehow their voices go together really well.
Their voices are incredible, and this is back when you couldn't fake it with software.
Right.
They're really singing, and their harmonizing is incredible. They're also really good at inferring styles. They don't do the style of music, but they infer like Latin jazz and doo-wop and folk music and like the ska, they infer these things and they do it well. But they also on "I Love You," there's white people scatting again. So
yeah,
we've already been through this with fucking Spin Doctors and.
Well, it's the era for it, and it's also, I mean, like we said, it's almost too easy a target to sit here and throw darts at Barenaked Ladies now and just be like, what a bunch of fucking dorks and stupid music, but. I would say they were a hit for a reason. They had talent and they they're
super talented.
Yeah, and they created things that at the time were sort of right in the pocket of what a lot of people wanted to listen to.
They were super talented. They know how to write a song. I do find the song, If I Had $1 Million, just insufferable.
No, yeah.
Like just so hard to listen to. It's just, you know what it sounds like to me? Let me explain what I mean by this. You can hear them smiling while they're singing.
Right. Yeah.
So when they do, David, I think you know this. I have a little bit of television and film experience in my background.
Sure. Yeah.
But commercials cast voices, and for certain things they want to be very family friendly and uplifting. They're looking for a smiling voice where when you're talking, you can hear the dead person smiling.
Mm-hmm.
These guys would have done great in commercials.
Yeah.
There's just, it is cringy to me.
Well, they did the theme song to the sitcom Big Bang Theory.
Oh God,
and I think
so much money off of that.
Sitcom theme songs are their own genre, and maybe one of these days we'll do a whole sort of sitcom theme song. I would love to, because some of them are just it's its own art.
Yeah, but it gave you one of your favorite albums of all time, the Simpsons record, right? That was
right. Well, those aren't theme songs though. Do you know like the theme song? Yeah, or the theme song to like Perfect Strangers and like TV shows like that, or Growing Pains or whatever they
Friends?
might. Yeah, right. I mean, the theme song to Friends is like, I think like just marked into everybody's mind from the 90s.
I have an imagination about that. I have an imagining about that. I have no idea if this is even remotely true, but I think about it and it amuses me. So Rembrandt's recorded that song.
Yeah.
It's a Rembrandt song. They had another song that was a moderate hit right before that called That's Just the Way It Is. They went, baby, that's just the way it is, baby. I don't know if you know. And then that song hits up, and you never fucking heard of him again.
Right.
And you know what? I think they went, we're out of here. We don't have to put up with his bullshit anymore. I think they made so much fucking money.
They just cashed out.
Off of that they just, who knows? I mean,
yeah.
Because I'm not saying they don't make music anymore, but doing the grind of trying to be a popular, successful band in the music industry back in the 90s, it was not fun.
Well, have you heard of a band called Nerve Herder?
Sure.
They were a big band in Santa Barbara, came out of Santa Barbara in the later 90s. And
punk rock band?
Yeah. And kind of nerd punk stuff.
Okay.
And I had their album and I listened to it a lot. And they would have been like a disappeared act. They like no one had ever heard of them, but they happened to do the theme song for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I think that's probably I would have to think they're still making money off of that.
Yeah, not like they used to, but
DVDs
yeah,
and shit. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, so Barenaked Ladies, you know, they are what they are. That's what we can say about them.
There is a wry wit on display.
Yeah.
They know how to write a song. They're super talented players and singers. I mean, there's a lot for a music fan to love about Barenaked Ladies. But in 1992, there was nothing for me to love about them.
I think they appeal to very young people, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think they're not rocking in the adult contemporary charts. They were a band that got a lot of fans from bootlegs. They talked about like people trading their stuff, early internet stuff of young people finding their music online and finding it other places. I think that they're sort of a kid band to me a little
interesting.
bit, and take that for what it's worth. So that is July 1992, at least
part
the first
one.
part.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot more of July 92 on the way. I think you'll all be surprised by how different the next 4 albums are that we listened to for July 92. But I thought this particular list, I don't know if you noticed this, but it kind of like they all linked together, the albums. Like the last song of Sonic Youth sort of ends abruptly, and then Megadeth just clicks right in. And you could almost feel like, oh, this is like this. They've just switched tracks, you know. And then the Megadeth leads right into the Morrissey the same way. And then Morrissey's voice sort of sounds, there's something a little bit like with the Barenaked Ladies guy that's got a little throat thing going on.
Huh.
I think the Barenaked Ladies guy sounds a little like Morrissey, but sounds a lot more like John Popper from Blues Traveler.
John.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I feel like the voice of there are 2 singers.
Yeah.
But the guy who sings the most of the songs on Gordon, he's not Stephen Page, it's the other guy.
I think his name is
Jim.
I want to say Ed Robertson.
Ed Robertson, that's it. Sorry, Ed Robertson. Ed Robertson, who sings most of the stuff, he sounds to me like if John Popper and Natalie Merchant had a kid.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, they're like you said, they're good at like swimming in streams that were already established.
Yeah.
And they're one of those bands that's sort of like it's. I felt like this with Crash Test Dummies too. They were kind of like big in their local scene. They played at coffee houses and bars, and they got bigger than you ever would have expected a band like that.
Which not every band. So Canada has this. This has been in place since before the 90s. Their music outlets at the time, it was like their version of MTV and their radio stations in the 90s were required to play, I think 30 to 50%, I don't remember the number, Canadians out there can tell me, they had to play Canadian artists. So they were very well promoted in Canada.
Right.
And so you would go, I mean, when we toured with Tragically Hip, we would start in Seattle, and I remember we used to play a place called Under the Rail up there, and there was like 8,000 people at this show. And that was this is in Seattle. It's just over the border. But by the time we got to Texas, we were playing little tiny bars. There would be 150 people there.
Interesting.
Nobody in America knew who they were.
Right.
But they were Tragically Hip was huge in Canada. The REM went up there and played a festival with them in the mid 90s, and they opened for Tragically Hip.
Wow. Yeah.
They were huge in
hometown.
Canada. Yeah. They were giant in Canada.
Huge in Canada. It's a blessing and a curse.
It sure is.
Well, thank you, John. We'll see you next time.
See you, Dave.